Right, so we're diving into something a little bit different today, something that's been making headlines and sparking all sorts of conversations online.
Yeah, this is it's a bit of a unique situation, and it really kind of gets at the heart of a lot of things we've been talking about on the show.
Right, like where do you draw the line between personal expression and professional responsibility, especially when you're dealing with something as massive as a Disney film?
Exactly. And when family is involved too, it adds another layer of complexity to the whole thing.
Absolutely. So we're talking about the upcoming Snow White film, and more specifically, the situation surrounding the lead actress, Rachel Zegler, and some comments made by the producer's son, Jonah Platt.
Right. And it all really stems from this idea that Zegler has been bringing her personal political views into the promotion of the film, and whether that's appropriate or not.
Yeah, and that's what sparked this whole online exchange that we're going to unpack today. So to set the stage, we've got this comment directed at Jonah Platt, basically asking him about his father, Marc Platt, who's the producer of the film, and whether he went to New York to address Zegler's statements.
And for those who need a little refresher, Marc Platt is a pretty big name in Hollywood. He's produced films like La La Land and Bridge of Spies, so, he's got a lot riding on this Snow White project.
Right, and his son Jonah, he's not just some random guy on the internet. He's got his own career in the entertainment industry. He's been on Broadway, he's done television, he even has his own podcast.
Yeah, so he's coming at this from a place of experience and understanding of how the industry works.
Exactly, and his response to that comment about his dad was, well, it was pretty revealing. He basically confirmed that his father did speak with Zegler, but he framed it as, this idea of adult responsibility and accountability.
It's like, okay, you have this huge financial investment, hundreds of millions of dollars riding on this film, and you have a lead actress who's also under contract for a lot of money, and her actions, her statements could potentially impact the success of the entire project.
Right, and it's not like she's just some unknown actress either. Zegler won a Golden Globe for West Side Story. She's got a huge following, and anything she says can really make waves.
Exactly. And the statements that seem to be at the center of this controversy, well, they're pretty politically charged, so you can see why the studio might be concerned.
Yeah, so back in August of 2024, after the Snow White trailer dropped and got a ton of views, Zegler made a post on X. And in that thread, celebrating the trailer's success, she included the phrase, "And always remember, free Palestine."
Now, that's a statement that's bound to elicit some strong reactions, especially in today's climate.
Right, and then Platt also brought up Zegler's past criticisms of Donald Trump on Instagram following his election victory in 2024.
Oh, right, the post where she basically said that she hopes Trump supporters never know peace, and then a direct F at Donald Trump.
Yeah, and she also called the U.S. a country with a deep, deep sickness. So those comments definitely paint a picture of someone who's very vocal about her political beliefs.
And you can see how that might clash with the image that Disney is trying to project with this film, especially with a classic fairy tale like Snow White.
Right, it's supposed to be family-friendly and appeal to a wide audience. So having the lead actress making these kinds of statements could alienate potential viewers.
And ultimately hurt the film's bottom line, which is what Platt seems to be most concerned about.
Exactly. He specifically said that free speech doesn't mean you can say whatever you want in your private employment without repercussions.
Which is a really important distinction, because a lot of people conflate the First Amendment with having no consequences for what you say. But in reality, that's not how it works.
Right. Your employer can absolutely take action if they feel like your speech is damaging to their business or brand. And in Hollywood, where image is everything, that's even more crucial.
And Platt didn't hold back in his assessment of Zegler's actions. He basically accused her of hijacking the conversation for her own immature desires and putting the livelihoods of all the people who worked on the film at risk.
Yeah, he even called her behavior narcissism, which is a pretty strong word to use, especially when you're talking about the lead actress of a major film.
But it shows you how seriously he's taking this and how much he feels like she's jeopardizing not just her own career, but the careers of everyone involved in the production.
And I think it's important to remember that Jonah Platt himself has a podcast called Being Jewish with Jonah Platt, where he talks about, Jewish identity, culture, and politics. So it's not like he's against people expressing their views in general.
Right. It seems like his issue is more with the context and the potential fallout from those views, specifically within this particular project.
And he's not just some detached observer either. He's got a personal stake in this because his father's the producer, but he also has his own career in the industry, and he understands the delicate balance between creative expression and commercial success.
Absolutely. And let's not forget that he's also a husband and a father with another child on the way. So He probably has a pretty good grasp on the financial realities of life and the importance of a project like this succeeding.
Right, and all of this information is coming from a Newsweek article written by Megan Cartwright, who's their deputy entertainment editor. So it's not just some random gossip, it's being reported as factual news.
So we have to take that into account as well, because it means that this isn't just hearsay, it's information that's been vetted and deemed credible by a reputable news outlet.
Exactly. So when you put it all together, you have this really fascinating situation that raises all sorts of questions about free speech, professional responsibility, and the power dynamics at play in a massive industry like Hollywood.
It's like you have all these different perspectives colliding. You have Rachel Zegler, who's probably thinking, I have a right to say what I believe. And then you have Marc Platt, the producer, who's worried about the financial impact of her statements. And then you have Jonah Platt, his son, stepping in to defend his father. And then you have all the people who worked on the film whose livelihoods are potentially on the line.
It's a real tangled web. And it really makes you think about where we draw the line between personal beliefs and professional obligations, especially when those beliefs have the potential to affect so many people.
And it's a conversation that's happening not just in Hollywood, but in all sorts of industries and workplaces, because as our world becomes increasingly interconnected, the lines between our personal and professional lives are becoming more blurred.
Absolutely, and it's a conversation that we're going to have to continue having because there are no easy answers.
Yeah.
It's all about navigating those gray areas and trying to find a balance that respects individual rights, while also acknowledging the responsibilities that come with being part of a larger community or organization.
And I think that's a really important takeaway for our listeners, because whether you're an actor, a producer, a teacher, a doctor, whatever your profession is, you're gonna encounter situations where you have to weigh your personal convictions against the potential impact they might have on your work and the people around you.
Right, and there's no one-size-fits-all answer. It's about being aware of the complexities involved and being willing to engage in thoughtful dialogue and maybe even some uncomfortable conversations.
Exactly, because at the end of the day, we're all trying to figure this out together, and the more open and honest we can be with each other, the better equipped we'll be to navigate these challenges in a way that's both respectful and productive.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I think the question I'm left with is this: if you were in Rachel Zegler's shoes, knowing what you know now about the potential fallout from your statements, would you still have made them, or would you have chosen to express yourself differently, and if so, how?
And I think that's a question worth pondering for all of us, because it really gets at the heart of how we navigate this increasingly complex world where our personal and professional lives are so intertwined.
So I'll leave that with you listeners to think about and discuss. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
Take care, everyone.